and welcome to the special CNBC Africa special. I'm Nozi Pumbanjwa. It is the month of August in South Africa, and so we are celebrating the country's leading women in business, in civil society, as well as in government. It gives me such great pleasure today to get an opportunity to sit down with the Chief Executive Officer and Principal Officer of the Eskom Pension and Provident Fund. Her name is Nopasika Lila, and I have been a huge fan, and in particular have been rooting for her as she's taken over the reins at the second biggest pension fund in South Africa in terms of assets under management, and also the second biggest on the continent. Nopasika, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for inviting me, Nozi.
Now that you are in the reins of CEO at the pension fund, and I believe that it's literally just been a couple of months, I know that all the headlines describe you as the first woman to be the CEO, the first black woman to be the CEO. What does first actually mean to you?
Well, Nozipo, indeed, you are right. The fund, Eskom Pension Fund, is the second largest pension fund in South Africa in terms of assets under management. And currently the fund has approximately 140 billion under management, with a membership base of 85,000 members made up of the pensioners, active members, as well as deferred or any other beneficiaries. I must say I'm very honored to be given an opportunity to lead an organization of this size and nature. Yeah. So as the Chief Executive and Principal Officer of the organization, one is expected to lead and direct the organization and also to deliver on the strategies of the organization, irrespective of color or gender.
Right. And so that also brings us back to this idea of you being the first. Does this put additional pressure because you are the first woman, you are the first black woman? Do you feel an additional weight that you need to carry because of this title that the country is giving you?
Nozipo, yes, there is a little bit of that. However, I think it's something that we've been seeing in South Africa. There's a number of women who've taken lead in organization. But where I'm at the moment, it is a privilege, and I see a lot of young people looking up to me, including the people within the organization. I've seen a lot of support, and I think it is something that one has heard, and one will need to make sure that you deliver on the objectives of the position.
Absolutely, and because we also know that if we just look at the industry sentiment around the fund in particular, it's not an easy time. The headlines have been anything but kind to the fund, and you come in at this rather difficult time. What's your focus areas and what timelines are you looking to deliver those focus areas on? Because I'm sure there's a lot of pressure, whether it's board and other stakeholders looking at you to turn this ship around.
Well, as you may know, that our slogan as the Eskom Pension Fund is invested in our members. So that is the focus of the fund, specifically member centricity and transformation. So in the few months that I have led the organization, the focus has been on the review of the strategy and making sure that we excel as we service our members. So it is important also to note that we have adopted the 3 E's in being key in us achieving the objectives. And these 3 E's really talk about the empowerment, the education, and the evolution of the organization, because we believe it's as part of member centricity. It is important that our members and staff members are educated, empowered to unleash that potential that everyone has, and the organization to remain evolve with the changing environment.
I love that. It has such a beautiful ring to it. It's the 3 E's. It's empowerment, it's education, and it's well as evolution. But let me just latch on to education for a moment. I know that you're a chartered accountant by profession, but you have a real passion for seeing the pipeline of chartered accountants actually growing in this country. And I also heard that the pension fund is perhaps the first organization or pension fund in South Africa that now has the ability to train chartered accountants. Talk to us a little bit about your love for education and development of people.
For me, maybe it's the faith that I have in each and every individual person, the ability that people have that they can actually use it if they're given the opportunity. I really believe in people. Their potential within people, I think, it's really invaluable. So when I am given an opportunity to educate, to be part of that, I actually think it's very good. You are correct. The fund was accredited to pass the in fact to provide training for chartered accountants. So we got into the top program through the SAICA, which is the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, and yes, we are the first pension fund to be given that privilege.
Let's go to empowerment, because I know that this is another big focus area of yours. You speak about an empowered fund and an empowered member. What does that actually look like?
It's really about making members understand their investments. If you look at a pension fund in terms of what is a pension fund for, it's really an investment that people need to invest in while they still have the energy to generate the funds. At a point in time when they retire, there's no ability for a lot of people to generate more income, whether it's because they are old, they are ill, but it's at a point where they are tired. Therefore, to generate income is very difficult for a lot of people. So to have them educated, you want them to retire comfortably at the end.
So the education and the empowerment very closely linked. And you spoke about evolution with relation to the fund. The industry is changing. And so how important then is evolution in that context?
It's important because if you look at the way the industry is evolving, there is a need to remain relevant and there's a need to be agile. You have a lot of members that are coming young, and those require and need a different kind of service from the fund. So if we are to remain relevant, it is important to cater the portfolio, or our different categories of our members.
So very clear strategy and focus. Thank you for sharing that with us. I want to get back to really getting to understand your leadership style and your leadership approach. Maybe let's talk about whether there's anything that you've learned from any other woman that has served you in your leadership journey.
I think what stands out for me, Nozi, because I have spent a lot of time with women, received a number of very beautiful and meaningful guidance. But what stands out for me is one from my mother, where she would say, be yourself. And she would say that in trying to be someone else, it may be fine, but the best you can ever be or do is to excel in being an imitation of that person. Be the original that you are.
And I mean, that's amazing because I think as women, we oftentimes lose our authenticity, or we leave parts of ourselves so that we can assimilate into beings that aren't really a true expression of who we are. But I also want to maybe link the leadership conversation back to your journey at the fund. You were a CFO for a good 8 years before becoming the CEO. Are there things, leadership lessons that you have carried through from CFO into the world of CEO? Things that you really, really developed as a leader, as being a CEO, that you think have been very relevant and have helped you to excel in the position you're in now?
Nozi, being a CFO of the organization for 8 years, I really believe one has been familiar with the environment. It gives that territorial advantage in terms of being familiar. But importantly, moving into the CEO position, the buck really stops with you. And I think that is something that I learned very quickly within the first few weeks into the role. In terms of leadership, it has helped the fact that I listen and believe in people. And in this role also, you are expected to listen to people because everyone is coming to you for a number of reasons, and for guidance and for leadership. So I think being able to listen and affording people an opportunity to have these conversations freely with me, I think that has actually helped with the transition.
You know, when we talk about leadership, we oftentimes make the error, if I can call it that, of just focus on the good stuff. You know, we focus on the things that help leaders to grow and to excel. But sometimes the lesson also lies in the things that we know don't work if you're going to be an effective leader. Has anything surfaced for you as this is a natural Nopasika behavior and it does not serve me as a leader? Any insights like that?
Interesting you ask that, because I would say yes. And that has been, you know, when we talk about empathy. As a CE in an organization, there are decisions that will serve the organization, and that is what one will lean to because it is important for the organization. And I've had to be in situations where I will weigh out what would I have done, but as a CE, what is expected of you to do.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's a constant sort of wearing double hats to say what is best for the organization, what's best for me, or what's best for the stakeholders. I do want us to take the conversation to the national agenda as well. You know, the month of August is always an opportunity for us to shine the spotlight on some of the big issues that are, you know, reflective of the progress of women or even the stagnation of women across the different spheres. Are there any big conversations that you think are still missing that we should be having as women in South Africa?
Well, I think there is the conversation I think we need to spend more time on is transformation. It has been out there, but more understanding what is transformation for the different women in South Africa, because it's very different from the point that different cultures, we understand things differently, but we're working so hard to conform to what is expected to us, from us. So just understanding and allowing people to evolve in the way that they are. Yeah. I think that is a conversation, because amongst ourselves as women, sometimes we want to put women in a box, but let's allow people to be who they are.
Share for joining us. It's been an awesome conversation with Nopasika Lila, and that's thank you in Mandarin, in case you thought that I was biting my tongue. It's been an awesome conversation with Nopasika Lila. She is the CEO and Principal Officer of the Eskom Pension and Provident Fund, sitting down and sharing her leadership journey with us. Thank you so much for joining us.